Well, hello. We're here today. I'm very excited. Last co-pilot has had a chance to bring in Bryon Foley. Bryon is very much involved in a lot of the different things, especially in the senior world. But Bryon is an investment advisor with Foresight Financial Management. I'll let him explain all that stuff to you. And then he also is I believe you are the founder. I know you have a board of Boomers and Beyond. Okay, so and he is going to talk to us about how to be a dynamic client resource for our clients and stuff today. So, Bryon, I want to turn it over to you and let you kind of introduce yourself, tell me who you are, what you do, and why we need to be a dynamic resource.
Great, thanks, Jim. Appreciate the opportunity to be here, and good morning. Happy 5th of July. Hope everybody had a great Independence weekend and got time to spend with friends and family. My name is Bryon Foley. As Jim had indicated, I'm with Foresight Financial Management. Foresight is a comprehensive, kind of holistic, all-inclusive financial planning practice. We take kind of an intimate, dynamic relationship with our clients, very hands-on experience, and help folks focus on how to be successful financially. We are not the get rich overnight operations. We are very much a long-term planning, comprehensive, all-in model of helping our clients navigate and make wise decisions with their financial services. We're a very small boutique style firm. In fact, 3 lead advisors located at 84th and Keystone, Keystone Crossing area right here, just down around the corner, so to speak. And I actually have just started my 26th year with the firm. So started, I guess, technically speaking, somehow, some way, 27th year. Did an internship with them between my junior and senior years in college at Wabash College, and before headed back in the fall for my senior year, accepted an opportunity to come partner with them. So it's been a wonderful dynamic experience. My personal practice at Foresight focuses on serving baby boomers and seniors. So those folks who are kind of in that home stretch towards retirement or are engaged in retirement, those tend to be the folks that we bring the most value to, have the most expertise and passion for serving. I'm a pretty simple guy. I'm an Indiana boy, born and raised, born in Anderson, raised in Pendleton, got really adventurous, went to Crawfordsville for a college. And if anyone knows anything about Wabash, you get out of there in 4 years financially. So four brief years in Crawfordsville. Met my wife while in college. She and I will celebrate 25 years of marriage later this month, as a matter of fact. Make our home in Fishers. I've been there for 20 plus years at this point, maybe 25 plus years almost. Have 2 children. I have a 16-year-old and a 14-year-old that would like to run the house at this point. So we're constantly on the go with extracurricular activities, and when I'm not engaged with work or with Boomers and Beyond, that we'll talk a little bit more about, I'm often on a ball field somewhere with one of the kids doing something, or if we have a miraculous weekend where we don't have a ball game, which are far few in between, we're often found floating on a lake, or boating, or wakeboarding, or tubing, or skiing, or kneeboarding. So lots of recreation, big outdoor people. And then, as Jim indicated, the other passion that I have is Boomers and Beyond. I actually founded Boomers and Beyond, about 12 years ago now. And the intent behind Boomers and Beyond, and kind of the why, if you will, is there was a giant void. There's all kinds of, and I'm speaking kind of pre-COVID for a second here. Before COVID, if you will, you could find a networking event, 5 times a day, every day of the week, on any corner of the city. But what was interesting is that despite all of that opportunity, there was very little to no opportunity for companies and professionals that were serving specifically that baby boomer and senior community to come together consistently. Now, there were one-offs and there were occasional focus meetings, things of that nature, but there didn't seem to be any consistency or landing spot, if you will. And I'm a big believer that relationship marketing is a behavior that's repetitious for us to be able to create that know, like, trust that, we all have been taught, if you will. And if you just have one-offs here and there erratically, or, it's constantly in a different location on a different Tuesday or whatever the case may be, it's hard to create that synergy or that, and that consistency for that matter of being able to build those relationships. So Boomers and Beyond, at its core, is really focused on bringing together the best of the best that serve that baby boomer and senior generation. And I think, as we reflect back kind of, post COVID, if we're there or whatever phase that we're in with that, I think the need, and not meaning the professionals need even, but that baby boomer and senior community's need has never been greater for a group like this. We've just gone through, obviously, several years or a couple years or several years for some of isolation, and also has come out of this, I think, an increased reality of distrust. And so the idea that somebody needs some service at their home or for a family member or for an aging parent or whatever the case may be, to just be comfortable Googling everything, or, to find a yellow pages, if you will, those days have diminished so rapidly. It's almost like we've aged in the last 2 years, a decade, when it comes to that trust factor. And so having resources that are in the community that are united, that are confident in one another's skills, I think is more important than ever before. And so that's kind of the inception of Boomers and Beyond. And over the years, what it's really has truly become, and I know, Jim, you've been an active part in the group as well, it's really stopped being a networking group and has become a community. It's become a connected resource of professionals who truly can, with confidence, recommend each other's services and know that if they do so, the experience is going to be, what we want, and at the end of the day, as business owners, all of us have a high desire to be referred, or to get an easier window of opportunity to our ideal clients, of course, and referrals are the key to that. And if we aren't predictably, able to deliver a service, or we don't have that trust or that confidence, of course, that's where the hesitation comes in, from a peer-to-peer relationship. And we talked about, how to become a dynamic resource for clients. And that's really, I think, at the crux of all of this. And candidly, it is what compelled me personally to launch Boomers and Beyond many years ago, because I had gone from being a dynamic resource to kind of an isolation. I'd gone through some pretty substantial health problems personally. And to the tune for about 5 years, I sort of just kind of went under a rock. And when I tell that story, there's an awful lot of people that know my personality and say, I can't imagine you ever becoming, an introverted personality. You love to be with people, and I do. I'm a people person, and I love, I'm an extreme extrovert, if you will. But I truly had taken about 5 years, and to some degree was feeling sorry for myself for the health problems. And what I realized is that, hey, my clients still need me to be a resource, not just a financial advisor, not just an investment, counsel person, or not just to be able to bounce ideas off of about their estates, or, a tax planning question as it relates to an investment decision, but they needed me to go back and be that resource again. And I've always prided myself on trying to operate as a concierge. And that's a word that has kind of a void in our world today. But think about the best experiences that most of us have ever had in a hotel. It's that go-to, it's that person that can get us to the right Italian restaurant for that perfect dinner, or tell us the best path to the ball game, or where the museum, discount tickets are, or how to get the best theater seating, or whatever it is. That concierge in the traditional world played such a significant value and big role for our experiences. And so I take that kind of personality or that responsibility of how can we as business owners become the concierge that our clients need or our prospects need in our lives, so that we can be that connector. And so that's kind of the premise behind that. And Boomers and Beyond was launched because I didn't have the energy, the time, or maybe even the willingness, with new children in my life and, babies and toddlers. I didn't have a desire to go to Starbucks 136 times a week, for a hot cup of coffee that was overpriced. in a meeting that might not be with very good people, to try to rebuild that network, those resources that I had ignored, through my health problems. So that's kind of the big picture, Jim, in terms of what that looks like. But
How
I
long
think
has Boomers and Beyond been around?
12 years now, actually.
12 years.
Yeah, just a little over a decade. And we've had our challenges through the pandemic and post-pandemic. We've had some challenges of kind of re-engaging, and the dynamics of the workplace have changed with folks working from home, or companies saying, hey, you can't get out of the building anymore, or whatever the case may be, or just being out of rhythm, right, out of the habit
Right.
of doing things. And I think that really speaks to also to why it's so essential that we have that, is that we think about, as business owners, lots lots of entrepreneurialism, lots of hustling, if you will, lots of go go go, highly driven personalities, type A personalities, whatever you want to define business owners. Oftentimes that's the person that is the go-getters, right? And we're even finding, kind of coming out of the pandemic, that those folks are sort of like stunned still, and out of the habit of engaging the community. Well, imagine being the consumer that we serve. Imagine being that senior who was more health vulnerable, perhaps, already had some complications, had children, family members, that were urging. And so we have created this isolation, this void in our community that is desperate for support, because the reality is even though people went in isolation, their life didn't stop happening, right? So they still need services, whether that's somebody to clean their gutters, or whether that's someone to do home improvement, whether it's someone to list a home, whether it's someone to come in and provide some medical support, whatever the case may be. Those needs didn't stop through that process, but the connectivity of the world, I think, has been interrupted greatly.
And I think so too. I think that, and one of my, of course, one of the reasons I started Life's Copilot was because I saw in the senior community one of the challenges that I think that the industry has, and I think this probably goes across a lot of industry lines, but it's definitely here. Is one is there's so much turnover. Okay, there's so the cheats, it's kind of like musical chairs. The seats keep changing as to where someone is. The marketers, the executive directors, the different programs have a tendency to be pirated away, to other competitors and what have you. So there's a lot of non-continuity. Okay, so that becomes, where is so and so now? Now I'm in the real estate industry as well. It's the same thing in the mortgage industry. It's not
Absolutely, yeah.
It's not just the senior, but it is definitely part of it. I've got people that are referral sources of people I have a lot of respect for that have moved 4 times in the last 2 years. It's just it is a big number, and so it's you need to keep FaceTime so you remember where someone is, or how to find them. If you trust that person, you got to find where they are. The other thing I see a lot of is so there's a lot of new people coming in that don't know who else is out there. They don't know what other programs are out there. We do all these educational programs, and it's amazing to me how many people on my panels that are doing a panel discussion or an expert panel find out about other panelists at the time, going, oh my God, I didn't know that someone did that. It's like, even us in the industry, we get very busy doing what we do, and we kind of not really find out what else is available that we could partner with to help a client. Okay. And then there's an unfortunate side effect that's human nature. Okay. That where I think there are people that have a, what do you call it? I would call it a scarcity mentality. Okay. They're terrified that this client has X amount of dollars, and if I refer them to someone that's going to take a percentage of that away from them, then that's only that many less months they can, work with my client, or it'd be my client, which I think is it's always the wrong way to go. But there are people that have that fear and that scarcity mentality, and that's not just the senior industry. That's
in the world,
all over the place as well. Everybody's panicked, about that.
And I think that's the most dangerous part of being in business, And when you and I were talking kind of in preparation for this meeting, I talked about one of the greatest lessons that I was taught from a mentor of mine named Marcus Henderson out of Nashville, Tennessee, is that compensation is always available. It just might not be for you today.
Right.
But having this mindset of, and that goes back to that concierge piece again, right? When you go to a hotel concierge, there is not a fee for them to be of assistance to you, right? And let's be honest, not everyone tips that person appropriately for their knowledge, and some may not tip at all, right? But the concierge does his or her job, understanding that the compensation piece takes care of itself, and because it's the right thing to do. And so we talk about that at Boomers and Beyond a lot. I talk about that and within my firm, and fortunately I've been blessed enough to get to do some speaking and opportunities like this over the years. And I say, look, your job is to help people, regardless of what the financial reward is for you today. Someone might come to me this afternoon as a referral from my very best, biggest, greatest client on the planet, right? And you might, oh my gosh, this is going to be amazing. This is a continuation of this person, and they live the same life and values, and they're going to have oodles and oodles of opportunity for me to work with. But they may not have a single resource that makes sense to do business with me today. But it doesn't mean that I can't bring value to them. And that's that dynamic resource. It's going, oh my gosh, you do have a pain that needs to be solved. In talking with you, you said you have a high priority for X, but you haven't met with an estate planning attorney for any of your service needs that you have. Or you're going through this transition with your mom, and she's making a move, but you're not utilizing a moving service, and you've got a bad back, and you're working 82 hours a week on top of trying to manage mom's life, and just being that resource is so critically important. But I agree completely, Jim. The biggest challenge that we get into is we get in that scarcity mindset of what's in it for me. Well, the further you can get away from what's in it for you and focus on what can I do to make this person's life better, that comes back to you. I don't know if it's tenfold, I don't know if it's threefold, but what I can tell you is there's folds.
Yeah.
And it definitely is advantageous. And, speaking to the other piece that you talked about, and that is change. Change is hard for everyone. And change is even harder for the generation that we're speaking of, as a rule of thumb. Again, not everyone is the same personality regardless of age, but that constant revolving door is hard. And and I think that we speak to the senior services industry, and we see a lot of turnover there. But you know what, it's not just a function of loyalty from the employee to the employer. It's a world where the employer loyalty isn't so hot either, right?
Right. Sure.
You're as good as you are today, and tomorrow you can be. Everybody is dispensable, and everything is dispensable. We moved to a world where no one has or very rarely do you see a committed relationship that has mutual interest in that respect in the workplace today. And so I think you're right. I think nurturing those relationships and intentionally making certain that we're staying connected is critically important, because I have said for many, many years that the brand is often less important than the person with the brand.
Correct.
Right? And so we might know that Eric is an amazing resource and he has incredible follow through, but Eric may have also had some misfortune and had 3 companies that he's worked for in the last 8 years go out of business. Right? I mean, it happens. I mean, more businesses fail than are successful. And he might have been the linchpin that allowed it to survive as long as it did. And just because he's changed brands or business cards in the last 4 years doesn't make him less talented, capable, or committed. It just may mean that the resources that he was partnering with weren't able to be successful. So I think I think you're absolutely right. Is we have to give grace, but we have to invest that time and that effort to be able to stay engaged. And I love a book that, and I'm not a big reader, so and those people are like, whoa, Foley's talking about a book, but a book that was a dynamic changer for me that really speaks to this outward focus is Go-Getters Get More, Go-Getters Give More, Go-Getters Get More, Go-Getters Sell More, and then Go-Getters Lead More are the 3 books. And it really speaks to the power of being a resource. It really speaks to the power of thinking beyond, hey, what's my bubble get out of this? And more importantly, am I being dynamic? Am I making a difference? Am I having an impact? And, when I talk to my kids, I often talk to them about what's important to me. And of course, we all want success. However one might define that, I think everyone has on some level a desire to be successful or to be perceived to be successful. But for me, what's more important than success is significance. For me, what significance means is that when my day is over, I can leave a wave of people, and hopefully generations a wave of people that I influenced, that I impacted in a positive way that causes them to go, hey, that's what I want to do. I want, you talked about the negativity that we deal with or the scarcity we deal with. That's contagious. But you know what else is contagious? Doing great things,
Right.
or being impactful or being empathetic or being, compelling. Those can be significant as well. So I think that's important, and I think that our world needs it. But I think too, in the workplace today, just being good or great even at what your occupation isn't enough anymore. That's not the differentiator anymore. We have such specialized, skill sets for so many occupations that exist today. Just being great at doing that isn't that big of a differentiator anymore. It's what else can you bring to the table? Because I think, again, we live in this vacuum and people are desperate for connectivity and for, human passion, if you will. So that was a really long response, but it's one of my passions. So I think you're absolutely right.
Well, I've always believed in, I've always called it trying to make, I live in we live in Indianapolis, which is a big city. Okay. But I try to make them small towns so that I have all these different, these different places that know me. I walk in, I get priority treatment because I take care of them. Okay. It goes back to, I grew up in Fishers when Fishers had 300 people. Okay. So I've made that in Indianapolis as well, if that makes any sense. They may be further geographically apart, but they have that small town feel. But it comes from learning what they need and then introducing people to them that can benefit from each other. And the more you do that, it's like, I've always taught like networking at events. But if I can get there and I can meet someone at an event, find out about them, who is a good potential client for you, whatever. And then I run into someone else at that same event, like a networking party or whatever, or, party in general. And then all of a sudden I find someone else that would possibly be somebody they should meet. I introduce them at the party and say, hey, you guys ought to meet. And then guess who they're talking about when you leave? I think I just lost you. Did you freeze? Are you there, Bryon? Hello.
You come back.
There
you go. Now you're back. Now we're back. The beauty of technology.
Yeah. So,
but
go ahead.
But just to what you were saying, I think is absolutely correct. And I've been very fortunate. I've had a lot of business result from networking. But I think that it's the difference between successful networking and networking for the sake of saying you're doing it is gigantic, right? Networking for the sake of doing it says, hey, my sales manager said that I need to come to this meeting, right? And my only objective is to get as many business cards as I possibly can, or get that whole list of everybody who came so that I can then in turn put them in my email blast system. That's not networking, right? Networking is connecting, beginning to nurture, build, or improve a relationship that either didn't exist or isn't at the level you want it, right? And so my approach has always been with networking, my goal is not to meet the entire room, because frankly, if I meet the entire room, I won't have met any of them, right? And so my goal has always been, and again, scale of room matters, of course, but let's just say that you're going into an event with 30 people, okay? My goal of an event with 30 people is to create or nurture a relationship with 3 to 4 people. That's it. 10% of that room is a lot to accomplish in a 30 to 90 minute window of time. And the best thing that you can do in that is get beyond that business card, right? What is it that I can learn about Jim that makes Jim and I have a unique relationship, right? What is it that can allow me to maybe grab a file in Jim's brain that in the future goes, oh, Bryon might be a resource for that. Well, I can tell you right now what it's not going to be, and that's Brion's a financial planner, because Jim knows 8,762,000 financial planners, because there's a lot, right? And Jim isn't going to connect with me solely on the ability to sell real estate, or, Vicky's not going to connect with me solely on the ability of offering, home healthcare or assisted living, or, Jeff isn't going to connect with me solely based on the fact that he's an attorney. It's what is it that we can find as common ground? Well, I can't find that by collecting 18 business cards out of a group of 30. Right. And so it's getting to that point where you go beyond that business card, where you start finding the core person of who they are, what matters to them, why they do what they do, how they're ticking, if you will. And then I think the second piece that you talked about, Jim, there is really the difference maker. What do you do once you meet that person? Or what do you do to work a room, or to, as I would say, facilitate a room, right? And I love self-improvement stuff, right? I love the podcast, I love the videos, I even read those books. But one of the biggest business advices or sales advice that I've ever heard, that is absolutely, I think, completely antiquated and completely wrong, that is taught every single day still today, is ABC. Always be closing, right? We've heard it, we've seen it. There's pretty posters made out of it. There's, screensavers, there's everything. ABC, always be closing. I think it is so fundamentally flawed at this point in time and completely antiquated in every shape and form. ABC still exists, but the C is not for closing. It's always be connecting, right? Who are you bridging to make the life better? Right? Who are you connecting? And it doesn't always have to be to the consumer. It doesn't have to be to the buyer. It's exactly like you said, you're in a room of professionals, and that first person you meet that morning says, I'm really trying to grow my practice, and what I need relationships with estate planning and elder law attorneys. Oh my gosh, great. Do you know Rebecca? Do look over here in the room, here's Anna, or here's Jeff, or who, let's go make this connection. When you do that, you've made a deposit in that person's brain that has so much more value than most people ever give credit to, right? And the reason, yeah, absolutely. And the reason being is that I don't care how extroverted you are. The hardest thing to do on the planet is take the risk of introducing yourself to someone who might not like you.
Yeah.
Right? I am an extreme extrovert. I still don't love it when I walk up to somebody and I meet them and I get the feeling that, oh, great, so glad you came, dude. Right? Nobody likes that feeling. And so if you can be a connector, if you can be driving that engine, if you can help alleviate that pain, man, that is an enormous deposit. And you didn't take a single withdrawal in that process as well. And along those same lines, just because we're talking a little bit of networking, strategy, the most critical piece of networking past the event is, what are you doing next? And here's what most do: nothing.
Mm-hmm.
They hope and pray, right? They hope and pray that person's going to call them, or they're going to run into them, that the universe is going to align. And because I was so incredibly amazing in front of Jim, tomorrow my phone is going to ring off the hook that Jim's referring everybody on the planet to me. Well, guys, I got news for you. I've been doing this 27 years. That doesn't work.
No.
So what are you going to do to nurture, to enhance, to build that relationship, right? The reality is some people get paid in transactions, but transactions are not happening in today's world without a relationship. Now, I'm not saying if you don't, I'm not saying you might not get lucky. I'm not saying that every once in a while karma doesn't shine nicely on you. And in my business, I show up at a meeting and somebody says, oh my God, I can't believe I met a financial advisor. I left my company, I have a 401k to roll over. Okay, great. Let's talk about that story, right? But I've been doing networking events for 27 years, and those experiences have happened, 4 or 5 times,
yeah.
right? out of thousands upon thousands upon thousands of relationship events, right? So what are you going to do differently? What is your differentiator, right? And your differentiator, it doesn't have to be rocket science. Your differentiator may be that within 24 hours, you're going to follow up with an email. It may be that you're going to follow up with a phone call. It may be that you're going to send in a meeting invite for a cup of coffee. It may be that you're going to send them a thank you. You be you. And I think it's really important that you are authentic on how you do what you do. But it can't be that, well, I met them on Tuesday, so the skies are going to open up and everything's going to fall in my lap at this point. So networking is it's a tough game, but I can tell you that it can be one of the most rewarding and prosperous games, because it is a game of reciprocity, but you can't keep score. You have to be connecting, you have to be a resource, you have to be willing to serve others because you know it's the right thing to do. And when you do that, that reciprocity comes in wheelbarrows of success. It just might not start as fast as you want, but you can't stop being a resource and a connector for people because it's still the right thing to do. People have always asked me, with respect to Boomers and Beyond, and you have such conviction and such passion. And Jim, you've been there several Fridays, it's of the year. I'll say, this is my favorite day of the month. And I'm not saying it because I'm in the room. I'm saying it because I freaking love Boomers and Beyond Fridays. And it's because it's filled with a room filled of like-minded people who want to make a difference, who typically aren't operating in scarcity, who typically aren't operating from a selfish perspective, but rather from a community perspective. And it's a lot of positivity. It's a lot of energy. I leave that meeting feeling like I can conquer the world again, right? And so that surrounding yourself with people who function in that space helps perpetuate that process, right? It helps you grow as a human, helps you be better as a business owner, as a spouse, as a parent, wherever your growth, needs to be in. All those things are good. But the other reason why I'm so convicted and so passionate about Boomers is I know that I've made a difference in my client's life and in my community's life through Boomers. And I've been rewarded. At one point, I think almost 85% of the clientele that I've brought on in the last decade has been a direct relationship to Boomers and Beyond. That's an extraordinarily high number. Right. I mean, extraordinarily high. Now, 12 years on the runway, right? And what I didn't say is in the first 60 days of Boomers and Beyond, 85% of my clientele was coming from Boomers and Beyond. It wasn't at all. Right? It wasn't even close to 85%. It probably wasn't 8 or 5%, let alone 85%, right? But it was being consistently, predictably present and making an impact. And so I think networking has probably more capability and value today than ever before. But I think the game's as hard as it's ever been, and you got to be consistent.
Well, I think a lot of people, like you just made the comment, they go out because they're told to go out and network, and they just go out and gather cards. Coming into the senior world, when I started with Carrying Transitions, coming into the senior world, I was actually taken aback by, I felt like I'd going back into the 80s with real estate, where, everybody was handing me their business cards. I thought business cards were kind of a thing of the past, but everybody was handing their business cards in trifolds. Okay. Well, I've been paperless since 2010. I didn't want them. Okay. It's kind of like, oh my God, what do I do with all this stuff? My desk was like an avalanche of stuff,
Yeah.
And I'm a big I love to refer people. Well, I don't want to have to go back to my office and dig through 1,000 cards to find your card. Okay. I want to know, how do I get it to you quickly? So I knew I had to find a digital method to deal with it. And I started looking at all kinds of different, card holder type things. And I finally decided I like Cam Card. It's an app on my phone.
Yeah.
And I just take a picture of the card. One thing you have to learn, okay, because I had to learn how to go back and relate to where they were, okay, where these people were. If they just want to hand me cards, I'll hand them cards and we can deal with it, but I know I'm going to follow up. I know they won't.
Yeah.
Okay, they're not going to follow up. They're just doing their thing of handing out cards, right? So fine. Yeah, so I'll play their game then, but then they're going to play my game later. Okay, that's kind of where I'm at. So as soon as I go back to the office, I take a picture of their card. I make sure that it read it right, because sometimes cards are cute font and it gets your thing wrong. But once it's in there, all I have to remember is their first name, their last name, their company name, or their industry, and it finds them for me, which is a godsend.
Yeah.
While the card's still laying on my desk, I immediately email them. And in the email, I'm like, hey, it was great to meet you at Boomers and Beyond, or whatever. I'm looking forward to getting to know more about you and your company. Could we get together, grab a cup of coffee? During COVID, it was doing a lot of Zoom meetings, but after that, it was like, let's get together. And I go and I use an app called Calendly on my thing. I said, just click on the book a meeting link, pick a time good for you, and I'll be there. Okay. Well, I will do that at an event. I might pick up a half dozen cards, and I do that. And I'm usually booking like 4 or 5 appointments in the next week or two from doing that. And previous to having the Calendly link, I was doing this phone tag or email tag back and forth until we finally gave up, because my calendar was full that day, or their calendar was full that day, because
you exhausted each other.
Yeah. So with Calendly, I've been able to close that. My conversion rate to appointments has gone up probably about 70%. So that was and it's been a godsend to me. Okay. But that has been, because then I get the FaceTime one-on-one, and get a chance to know them and get to know who they are. So when you're going to these networking things, especially if you're an introvert, okay, and I have a tendency to be that. You may be surprised at that, but I have a tendency to be that. I mean, I recharge getting alone rather than going to a group. Okay. And I can play I enjoy the going to the things, but I also like getting away.
Yeah.
But to go in, and a lot of these places, these networking associations have cliques already there. These same people have been together for, they go to every networking event, sit at the same table. Okay, they hang out together, which I don't really know what they're doing with that, but that's okay. But to break that clique, you've got to get into that, get to know that person. Well, if I can get you one-to-one over a cup of coffee, then all of a sudden I've had an hour with you, I have gained some credibility to get into that clique, to get into that opportunity. You're not always standing on the outside trying to figure out how to get a word in,
That's
so
right, yeah.
That's been the method I've used, and it's since coming back into this world, and it seems to have had some benefit. And it's simple. It's something that I can do. I can replicate, do it over and over again.
Well, and that's what I was going to say, Jim. The key is that you're consistently doing it, right? Use weight loss for an example. There's a million ways that somebody can lose weight, right?
Right.
For some people, it's running. I'm a runner.
Mm-hmm.
The idea of getting on a bike and riding across Hamilton County on a bike is like paralyzing to me. I don't enjoy leisurely bike rides, let alone get on something and crank as fast as I can on a bike. But you just give me this headset and let me go run. That works for me.
Yeah.
My best friend goes, I will never run unless somebody is chasing me, right? But he can be at his ideal weight by choosing to eat healthier than I do, or he can. So point is that we relate to diets because in America we're great at trying to lose weight and then put it back on type of thing. Everyone doesn't have to use your methodology of follow-up. It works for you. It fits your personality. It fits your style, and it is repeatable for you, right? And we talk about this at Boomers and Beyond all the time, becoming repeat offenders. Be predictably consistent, right? You be you all the time for 2 reasons. Number one, people can learn to know, like, and trust you, right? And you don't have to remember who you are. If you're true to yourself and your methodology and your style and your personality and how you approach people, you stop eliminating surprises. But whatever the system is, make it simple. Whatever the system is, commit to it. Whatever the system is, repeat, rinse, repeat, rinse, repeat. You've got to be willing to engage whatever that system is. And, certainly the one that you found is working, right? And so if it's not broken, don't fix it, right? Just trust it and keep rolling with it, keep going with it. And then if it's no longer getting the results that you want, that's when you go, okay, doesn't mean I have to throw the entire thing in the dumpster. What do I need to tweak? What am I doing? Maybe it's just the email wording that I'm sending. I got to rethink this thing, or whatever the case be is. But I think you nailed it, man. I think it's being consistent, having a system that you like, right? That works for you, that doesn't create so much pain that you dread the idea of having to do it. It's critically important. I mean, just absolutely, absolutely. So I think that you've nailed it in that respect. And I think so many times people who struggle with relationship marketing, or people who struggle with being a bigger resource to their clients, they're so worried about it being sophisticated or sexy or the wow factor. You know what people want? They want relationships.
Right.
you know They- of course, maybe people love to drive a Mercedes Benz, but you know what they really like is a car that runs all the time, that they can get in, that's theirs. And so creating a relationship that is predictable, that is consistent, that is dependable, that's so critically important in relationship management with your clients, prospecting, and even in that strategic relationship space or that networking space. you know do I know what I'm going to get when I call on Bryon? Do I know what I'm going to get when I refer Bryon? Can I feel confident that, man, this is my mom, or this is my neighbor, or this is my best friend, or this is a client, this is my client, right? They need Bryon to solve this pain. Can I with confidence say, I know what you're going to get? That's at the end of the day what everyone is looking for. And I kind of talk about this maturation of relationship marketing, or this maturation of referral business, if you will. I hate the word referral. It's scrubbed entirely from my personal language, because a referral has a negative connotation in our world. A referral means that, hey, Jim, I just did something for you and you owe me, right? That's how we've used it. That's the vernacular that's become, ingrained in the business world. So I've kind of converted that thought process, and I say what I'm seeking are recommendations. And here's the difference. A referral is, oh, hey, Jim, nice to meet you. I got this guy. You know what? I got 2 or 3 guys I think might be a real good fit for you. You said you got this pain and investment planning. Well, here's Bryon, here's Joe, and here's Mary's card. All these guys, I mean, they're all good people. I've known them forever. Good people. You ought to give them a call, right? That's a referral in my life, right? That's what I perceive as a referral. What I want is when that person comes into your life, your language says something like this: oh my God, you need to meet with Bryon. He is going to solve your pain. He's been most trusted, reliable resource. The dude is, rock solid. He's going to take care of all your pain. And if he can't help you, here's what I know: he's not going to tell you he can, and he's going to get you to the person that can. But I am telling you, this is your first stop, and hopefully it's your only stop if it's a good fit, right? I mean, that's night and day different, right?
Right.
I mean, first of all, that person goes, gee, Merry Christmas, I wanted to meet this Bryon dude, right? No matter what, even if he can't help me, it sounds like he's going to help me. And the other one is 100% onus on, hey, here's 3 people's business card that I happen to have in my back pocket. I just came from this event, and you know what? These probably won't hurt you. Nobody, what? Okay, well, I'll Google search who won't hurt me, right? And so I think that's the end game is, how do we create those relationships that have that compassion, that conviction to make this happen? And the easiest way to create them, circling all the way back to the beginning, is to be that person for other people's lives. Who are you connecting people to? I shared a story one time at Boomers and Beyond of the Covingtons, a client of mine, and she's still with us in her mid 90s right now. But they've been clients of mine now for almost 26 years. So they were one of, I don't know, maybe the first 30 clients ever in my life. Okay. Life happened. They've gotten older, they've slowed down, they've had health challenges, they've moved to assisted living, all these phases of life that are, more common than maybe we'd like to, think about. But I have recommended in their life 19 different services over the 26 years. And they've used 17 of the 19 services. And what's interesting is I've never had any conversation with either one of the spouses that says, why did you tell those people to contact us? Or why did you tell us to contact those persons? What it's been is I am so grateful that you're in our life, because I would have never had any idea how to find that solution. I didn't even know that was a service in the world today. Or, man, they were here on Tuesday, and I've been thinking about getting this time. One of the services that I provided to them was leaf removal. They lived in a very large wooded home area. They had leaves everywhere, and the husband's health had failed, and she had become paralyzed and was literally drowning in leaves, if you will, right? And she had been thinking about a leaf service or having somebody come out, a handyman. She was thinking of all these. She'd been thinking about it for 4 months.
Yeah.
Within 48 hours, they were gone, right? That's being a concierge. That's being a resource. That's being a connector, and that's being solution oriented. The peace of mind, and leaves are a simple thing, right? But they're not if it's one of 82,000 things that are stacking up on you mentally. And so, those are all critical parts about being a resource. And I use them as an example, not because they're extreme. I have lots of clients who have used lots of services that we've connected them to over the years. But you know what? That's a massive deposit that has made an impact in their life. And by the way, it's also enhanced my relationship with them dynamically. I know it's shocking for people to hear, but there's more than one financial planner in the Indianapolis community. And even though the Covingtons are clients of mine, they still get phone calls from those other people on a regular basis. But they're not fielding meetings. They're not seeking second opinions. They're not thinking, gosh, is this person, is this firm, are they going to have a shinier widget than Bryon has? Is this going to fix, is this the end all be all solution? Because that's what the advisors tell them they got, right? They're saying, no, I have a wonderful relationship. I have a committed relationship. I'm not interested, right? And at the end of the day, as an advisor, obviously those are the type of relationships that I want as well with my clientele. So it is a giant circle. And some people might call that a hamster wheel, and we're running like crazy to get to the other end. But the I guess the bad news is when you get to the other end, it's the start of the next one, and you just got to keep that momentum up. You got to keep that pace up. You got to keep being a resource. So I think that's a critical message.
Well, I think it's one of the things that's so critical about like the Boomers and Beyond and by Life's Co-Pilot, but a lot of these different places is one of the things that really was eye-opening to me, okay, when I jumped from real estate into the senior world with like Caring Transitions and then Life's Co-Pilot and now True Blue as well. What I first came to realize when I started meeting all of the people in the senior world and all the things that they did and having those coffees after the card exchanged and all that kind of stuff is I actually started getting angry because where were you? Why didn't somebody tell me that these people were out there? When I was trying to navigate with my in-laws, my parents, my uncle, I was constantly doing less than the best thing for them because I didn't know the best thing existed.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think you've hit a big one here. And that's why Boomers and Beyond was created at its core. There is a massive, massive void out there in late life, right? And part of that void is the American way. You've done this with family. I've done this with family. Hey, let's be honest. No one is ever going to get older. No one is ever going to need any support services. No, and we're going to be independent till the day we're not, and then we're going to just boom on Tuesday, right? Well, that's not the actual road that most of us are on. It
My
might be the
grandparents
road.
did that, but they're the only ones I know that did.
Yeah, I mean, I know that's the road we all want, and there's nothing wrong with hope, right? But we have our head in the sand as Americans as it comes to that aging reality or that aging process. And so consequently, we don't see what we're not looking for, right? And then we've gone into this vacuum of the world that we live in. And so consequently, we're just simply unaware. And on top of that, that marketplace, those businesses serving the senior population and the baby boomer generation, they're growing exponentially every single day. I mean, I kind of got thrust into this world of senior services because my family doesn't pass. We just live and live and live and live and live and live, and not always real gracefully, but I've had 6 great grandparents live past 90 years old. Okay. I've had grandparents consistently live 90 plus years old. And so we sort of just got thrust into this aging process. But when my first great grandma, that was the driver of all this awareness, if you will, when she developed Alzheimer's, and when her dementia started, we had choices. We could choose nursing home A, B, C, D, E, or F. There were 6 or 8 of them up in the Anderson community that we could choose from. And those were truly our options. Well, she had Alzheimer's or dementia, some form of it, for about 12 years, 10 to 12 years, give or take. And what was interesting is that when she started her services, the only thing that was available to her was a nursing home. By the end of her experience with dementia, she had received home health care, assisted living, memory impairment specialty unit, in addition to nursing homes. But on day one, none of those other four entities even existed,
Right.
right? And so it is an ever-changing monster, and a monster can be positive in that respect, in the sense that there is evolution happening there, which speaks to also the importance of staying connected. And that's why Boomers and Beyond works so hard at inviting guests to come and evaluate, hey, does this make sense for me? Is this the right community? Because the reality is exactly what you're saying, Jim. People don't know what they don't know until they know it, and that's not from a child to a parent. That's from a professional to professional too. I mean, we most recently had a new guest come to Boomers and Beyond, and their entire business is floral decorations for senior living communities. I mean, great idea, right? But
Yeah.
if you'd asked me 4 weeks ago, 9 months ago, hey, do you know anybody who specializes in floral arrangements for, retirement communities? I'm like, no,
Yeah.
because nobody does. So,
Right.
but I now know, that not only does it exist, but they deliver an incredible product. They got a good business, they got a track record. They've been around way longer than I could have ever fathomed as an entity. I mean, but if you stay where you're at, you're only going backwards, but you're certainly not growing. And so you're absolutely right. I mean, those transitions, as you said, coming out of the real estate to the senior market as a profession, is the same challenge that we have as spouses or children of aging parents, or spouses as well, of going, well, I didn't even know. I had no idea. And the reality is that's what Boomers and Beyond is trying to fill, is that void of that lack of awareness that can be the difference in somebody's life.
Well, today I think a lot of the general public still thinks that nursing homes are the only option, or they
Yeah.
still have that in their head that that's everything's that. It is not.
Or they believe that regardless of what it says on the sign, you are a nursing home.
Right, exactly. That's what I mean. Yes, they
Yeah.
they see them as that same category.
And it's not the nice one that they were at. It is the stinkiest, dirtiest,
Right.
vision that they could ever have in their entire life. And that senior community industry has a constant uphill battle, and candidly very, very inappropriate misnomer in many ways, of the dungeon model
Right.
that people have perceived from the 1950s and earlier.
And they still exist. You run into them periodically, but they're not the norm. They're the exception now. So
yeah, not all things are created equal, but they're certainly not all the chaos that we have in our minds. That's for certain.
yeah.
I mean, I would say that when I talk to my aging clients who have transitioned to assisted living or to a nursing home community or to memory impairment specialty community, the feedback that I get from them kind of post move is, why didn't we do this earlier?
Right.
And I don't mean in the first 48 hours. Change is hard. It doesn't matter who we are, but you get to your new normal, you get to that new rhythm, you get to that this is my home feeling. And for some people that's 30 days, for some it's 90. Everybody comes to that space at a different pace. And it doesn't mean that the first community we move in is going to be the perfect one or anything like that. But boy, I'll tell you that more times than not, this is so much more of a fulfilling life. This is so much better, so.
Well, I think that, going back to like our whole topic has been, if you look past your own immediate needs to try to take care of your clients' needs, to get them in front of the right people, to help them do the different things, the rewards may not come back on that particular client that particular day, but they do come back, and they come back in spades. I mean, they come back with, great benefit, because people they talk to go, oh my God, you got to talk to Bryon because he solved 17 problems for me, outside of his sphere.
Well, just a quick example. I have clients that have been with me for about 4 years, so relatively new clientele, for somebody who's been in practice for 25 plus years. And each time in this particular client, we meet face to face or via Zoom, whatever we need to do from a technology standpoint, or if they're traveling or whatever. But anyway, we meet twice a year, every year for 4 years. And each time that we have met Jim, even from the very beginning of our, hey, here's the recommended strategies you need to do, one of the things that was recommended is they needed to get their estate plan in order. And that we've recommended this attorney as a solution. And here's how to be able to reach that attorney. And do you need me to help facilitate that? No, I've got that. And thank you. As soon as we meet with the attorney, you can provide the information to their practice accordingly based on our investments and, stuff like that, right? So every single meeting, we go through, kind of just a real simple, what's changed? What have you updated? Where do you stand on this? During our last meeting, we talked about that you're going to meet with an attorney and get your estate plan. They came into the most recent meeting with me, which was, I don't know, maybe 6 weeks ago. And I said, all right, guys, hey, real quick, any dynamic changes? Tell me what's happening. Where do we stand on? And he's like, I know the estate planning. We didn't do it yet again. Matter of fact, I almost called that firm yesterday just to get an appointment out so I could tell you that we got that taken care of, right? And so we laughed. We had a good laugh about it. Again, it's not personal. It's okay, So we go through our whole meeting of everything that we wanted to cover and get accomplished, updates, things like that. And I said, hey, guys, I got a recommendation. Will you give me permission to get that attorney meeting scheduled for you? Can I just take care of that? Can I take that responsibility and just make it happen for you rather than all the stars aligning in the next 90 days for you to get it done? Like, seriously? I'm like, yeah. And they're like, yeah, that'd be great. That would be amazing, actually. We know we need to do this. It's not a function of desire. It just doesn't become a priority. I said, no problem. Within 30 minutes of leaving my office, we had an appointment scheduled with an attorney. Okay. We've already met with the attorney. The estate plan is now done. And anyway, fast forward now, I have had 3 referrals from them in the last 90 days, that's a lot. I mean, that's a
lot. Yes.
Yeah, that's amazing. Right. And in doing a recommendation for another person that they had referred to me, so I put together all of our planning ideas. I presented it to them at the end of the meeting because it was done via Zoom. I said, hey, I just want to remind you in the beginning of our meeting that this is your information to digest, to think through. I don't want any action. We don't need any decisions made today. I just want you to mull through this. Let me know what you're comfortable with, things that you need more clarity on or whatever. And I said, and then, when time is right, if it makes sense to work together, we will, of course. He said, that's awesome. He said, I really appreciate it. I'll take a look at it. Gets back to me and he said, hey, I'm ready to move forward. I want to do everything with you. And I just want you to know that the number one reason why I love everything that you said, everything aligns with me philosophically, value wise, everything is great. But the real reason I want to move forward with you is you get stuff done. You knew that and you referenced the referral partners, they had to get that done. That was something that was critical for their well-being and was unique to their situation, even more critical. And you showed enormous patience with them, but at the end of the day, you got it done. And you didn't make a penny from doing that. Like, there's nothing financially in that for you at all. Like, no, it's part of the plan. No, they got to get that done. It's like, right, that's the conviction, that's the passion. And so anyways, long story short, I pick up this client. We're not even finished bringing the client's assets in yet. We've got them at, multiple places over the, years of 401k, stuff like that. That individual has now referred 2 individuals to our practice. And I don't know if they're going to become clients. I don't know if we can help them, but they're opportunities to have a favorable conversation. So you're absolutely right. When you take care of people because it's the right thing to take care of, they will come back to you and be a resource for you as well. And so I think it's, that's a simple example, but it's real right now, kind of even in all the chaos of the world of the day,
Right.
that principle is alive and thriving. So I think that your guidance of, hey, that's the right thing, so go do it is so critical. Yep, absolutely.
And it always pays back. I mean, maybe not then or not, but I was going to say right up, where is it? Right there at the very top, right there, you can see my boomerang from one of the events at Boomers and Beyond. So yeah, so I have got that, and it's on my wall. And tell us where Boomers and Beyond are and when it is.
Yeah, absolutely. And you can come and learn what that Boomerang Award means. So there's your teaser for the day. Boomers and Beyond is a monthly event that meets on the 3rd Friday of every month. So it's consistently the 3rd Friday, not a physical number of the month, but rather the third Friday of the month, we meet at the Haverstick, which is an incredible community resource right near the Keystone of the Crossing Ironwoods area, or Ironworks location at the Haverstick at the Crossing Church. The address is actually 9111 Haverstick Road. And we meet in two spaces, either the Haverstick Coffee House or in what's called the Gathering Space, which is a larger room, just off the coffee room. Our next meeting is right around the corner. It is the 15th of July. So just not this Friday, the 8th, but 2 Fridays from now, we'll be meeting. We meet 7:30 in the morning to 9 o'clock in the morning. And people go, wow, it's 7:30 in the morning. It's on purpose, baby. It's on purpose. Not a lot of life can get in the way at 7:30 in the morning. So you're either there or you're not there, but it's usually on you to be able to get there. But we run from 7:30 to 9. The other reason we do it from 7:30 to 9 is I want it to be the best Friday of the year for you too. And if I can start with you at 7:30 in the morning and you can leave with all that energy, conviction, passion, and excitement, it can carry out through the whole day. But if we meet at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, your day may be over when you leave. So you don't get any of the benefits of that boost of caffeine, if you will. We do serve coffee. Keep it simple, coffee, water. We'd love to have you come check out Boomers and Beyond. You can come as Jim's guest or my guest and see if the community makes sense for you to become a part of.
Hey, Bryon, thanks for coming and sharing with us this morning. This video will be on Life's Copilot. It'll also be, we'll push it out through Alignable and Facebook and LinkedIn, all that kind of stuff as well. So, and we get a lot of attention on Alignable. I'm actually blown away with how many views we get there. So anyway, I think I may have lost you. So the timing may have worked out perfectly. So,
there we go.
I'll see you later. I'll see you in a
couple.
couple.
All right, thanks, Jim.
All right, take care. Bye-bye.
Bye now.